How's everybody doing? Yeah, I just wanted to come in real quick. It's been a minute. It's been some really crazy days. US campaigns, Republicans, Democrats. I mean, what's your thoughts on it? Uh, it's really moving so fast. Well, you know what I could say? Let me start off by saying this because a lot of times there's some things that I plan on touching on, and maybe I jump past them because things move so fast. But I want to first start off by saying there's a lot of disinformation out there, and everybody doesn't always pick up on it quickly enough. Um, a lot of people believe disinformation verbatim too, like literally believe what is being spread by foreign governments that want you dead. Which is the crazy part about it. I mean, how could you believe information that is literally military information, information coming from a foreign military that wants you dead? I mean, enough can't be said about that. Same government spreading disinformation, same government threatening you with a nuclear bomb. I mean, these days are wild days. The school shooting in the US, that's another tragedy. But before I speak about that, I mean, the disinformation, it seems like people that believe the disinformation, that repeat it verbatim, they don't want to just admit that they're victims themselves. Um, and that's so sad because to believe a lie, like I'll give you an example of what I mean. Um, People spreading stories about Kamala Harris's background, like her background is relevant to her positions. It's not. And then somehow hold her to a higher level, you know, be more, how can I say this? Expect more honesty out of her than they do out of Trump. That doesn't make any sense at all. People will badger Kamala Harris about her background. Basically, they will lie, repeat lies. Those lies are part of disinformation campaign spread by a foreign government. Most of Trump's talking points that the Republicans, sadly enough, working with him, they are spreading lies concocted by foreign government. You know, and you may not know what disinformation is, but disinformation can sound a lot like the truth, but have a slightly different, you know, uh, ascension, be slightly different, make all of the difference. So one of the stories that they spread out there, and even if it's foreign government or not, you should be ashamed of yourself to believe a lie because you should be more intelligent than that. Number one. Um, One of the stories that they spread was is that she's a descendant of a slave master in Jamaica, when really every African American should have been completely and utterly insulted by that idea. Because the framework that they put out, as the story goes, is that her father had two mothers and two grandparents. The father had grandparents. He had one Indian mother, one black father from Jamaican black father, African descent, and his parents, right? His grandparents. Somehow, one of them, his great great grandmother's last name is Brown, just like my last name is Bennett. Just like most African Americans have a last name of a European if their family went through the slave trade. And somehow that means you're a direct relative of the slave master that the town was originally named after generations before. Even if that is somehow true, that means, I don't know if you know about slavery in America, but slaves, black women were raped, you know? And the children were considered slaves too. That's if she's even a biological descendant. You could be a descendant, you could come from that plantation and not be a biological descendant of his and still share that name. So African Americans, above all people, should have been utterly offended by that concept. But because they're so trapped, some of them in the disinformation, they can't bring themselves to even see how utterly offensive that is, you know? Disinformation. So it's just an example, and there's loads of disinformation put out right now. It's not just the United States of America, it's going on in all Western nations. And they're giving warnings about it now. The disinformation has started 2016, and it's been ongoing. So that's what I wanted to touch on. But what saddens me is this shooting in Georgia right now. It's so sad because let me tell you, being an American living outside of the US, being born and raised in Washington, D.C., growing up in D.C., and as a grown man living outside of the US, it's so sad because when you live outside of the US, primarily, or also where I'm at in the Scandinavian, you realize children aren't growing up with this type of trauma. They're just not. They're not growing up with this type of trauma. They're not worried about somebody coming in and shooting up the schools. They're not growing up with this same kind of neighborhood trauma. I mean, sure, there's problems with teenagers, there's problems with young people, there's problems with drugs, there's problems with crime, but not like this. Not like senseless, and also not the shooting deaths, the gun deaths left and right. Sure, the UK might have a lot of, the UK may stand out. Paris, it might stand out. But let me tell you, where I'm living, it's not even close. It's not even close. Not like that. And let me tell you, when those things happen to you as a child, it's going to stick with most of y'all for the rest of your life, especially without any type of psychological help, therapy. In a subtle way, it's going to stick with you. And, it's just sad because the United States is a war zone in itself. When you look at these kind of things, it's so sad. It's so sad. And there's a lot of people that think it's normal. A lot of people that, and I'm not blaming people, but I blame the government. But again, why is the U.S. one of those Western nations where they needed all the gun proliferation? It just makes me wonder. It's not something you can change overnight, but you can have a conversation. Hopefully it will change for the next generation. But if you're not willing to have a conversation, it won't change for the next generation. And it's just sad. I watched a 14-year-old boy, an interview, a 14-year-old boy. I think his name was Marquise Coleman. And he was one of the people, one of the survivors, and give his description of it. And me, as crazy as DC was, me growing up, I'm born in 1970, so when I was in the 80s, I was fit in my teens. And but as crazy as that was, it's nothing like this. I never had to worry about a gunman storming into a school. Um, Most of my life, especially at his age, the school was without, and the community was a safe haven. My entire community was a safe haven. Um, the teachers, there was no experience. You would never even have to think about that. Kids today, they're literally thinking about what you're going to do when somebody comes in politically or whatever reason, for whatever the reason is, and wants to shoot up everybody. I mean, then you have Trump. I guess Trump was saying something. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, Andrea. Hey, VB in the chat. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But this whole thing about, the answer being bulletproof backpacks, bulletproof backpacks. I wish I had I wish I was on the desktop today, because that's an insult. That's an insult. That's what you tell a kid that's supposed to be living in a war zone, not the wealthiest country on earth. Um, you know, that's just so crazy. 14, there's a kid. This kid, how did the kid get that gun? How did the kid, this kid is, I don't, how old is the kid that did the shooting? Do they even know yet? They know yet. I guess there's more information coming out. Let me know. Cause, yeah, but in any case, young kid gets into a school, goes to the school, so he have to be young himself. Um, and he just starts shooting up people. How did he get the gun? Uh, how do you protect yourself from someone who just wants to pull out a gun and start shooting? Uh, uh, military style weapon. Um, how do you do that? Let me tell you flat out, it's impossible. You don't. When a person pulls out a weapon like that, they have the opportunity to get off way more shots than you will uh, be able to defend. By the time you are able to stop somebody who just pulls out the weapon and starts shooting, you already, there could be multiple people dead. And it's always like that with these mass shootings. It's always like that. Um, but the U.S. is stuck with trying to figure out, what do they do about mass shootings for another year, another year. Whereas though other nations are sitting back saying, damn, like they don't know what to do. Almost every problem that exists in the United States in terms of welfare, people's basic welfare, there's loads of people in other nations sitting back. Damn, they don't know what to do. They still don't know what to do. That's actually a reality. And, you know, I know that there's folks that don't like to hear that. But it's always like that across the world. And in one nation, every nation, there's some things people don't like to hear, but that doesn't mean they're right. That doesn't mean the conversation shouldn't happen. But in the US, folks seem to have a hard time admitting that on basic values, they drop the ball. They drop the ball on caring for each other. Drop the ball, and I mean the government too. And I'm not talking about Biden. I'm talking about historically. Because I'm a supporter of Biden. To be honest, since that's the reasonable choice. I'm a supporter of Harris. But basic values, um, people being able to figure out that when you show love, you get love back. When somebody's in need and you show them that you care, that's what building a nation is. Um, but when you say, I don't want to help you, why should I have to help you? That's what That's not building a nation, actually. And it may be hard to say, to behave like you care about somebody else. It may be hard to do it the first time, but once you learn how, you can. It's easy. It's just easy. Um, yeah, it's really crazy. It's really crazy. Yeah, I'm on my way to work right now. It's nighttime. Yeah, it's something else. I don't really know what to say, but the shooting was just the political thing is one thing. People can discuss politics, and it is ridiculous. A lot of it is ridiculous because the basic stuff, the basic values, just the fact that Americans don't share basic values like housing, healthcare, education. Just the fact that they don't share in those things makes you wonder what's wrong. What's wrong, you know? But then when you add these kind of things that always seem to pop up here and there with the mass shootings and stuff, it really just sends the message home uh that damn, you know, it's rough. It's rough out there. The United States is a beautiful country. Beautiful geography, mountains, valleys, ocean, desert. Uh, you can do anything as far as nature. You can do anything there. You could never see it all, but you would think people that have all that beauty would express it politically. Would express it politically in the values, because there's people with a whole lot less that seem to appreciate what they got, So, yeah. But anyway, I just want to say what's up with y'all. I'll be there tomorrow. Yes, I'll be there. Different time, of course. I had a long work week this week, so it's kind of difficult to get a moment to chime in, but I've been checking out the news. Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm going to catch up with you later. Peace, Andre. I see you. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, my thoughts and prayers goes out to the family members that were affected by the shooting in Georgia. To the kids. Kids don't deserve that. I'm pretty sure the effects and the trauma are going to be thrown under the rug. Like it doesn't matter. It's been going on for a generation, the fact that people's trauma doesn't matter. Yeah. It's nothing worse than watching a kid tell you about what a mass shooting was like. Tell you with such a sweet voice, with such a sweet spirit, tell you their survival story, to know that in the end, it may not mean a goddamn thing to anybody. To some people, yeah, but there's so many people with cold hearts that won't move them to do a damn thing. It won't even move them to change something about themselves. Seems like folks are stuck in a pattern. Okay, VB, have a good night. Yeah, you too, Andrea. I'm gonna catch up with y'all tomorrow. I'm free. Yeah. Let me get across the street real quick. Alrighty. Yeah, peace, y'all. Be good, okay? How do I stop this?